Alright, we back here with another episode of No-kayfaben.com with Hall of Fame legend, diva, first diva of wrestling, Sunny. It's an honor for you to be on my site. I appreciate it.
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
That's good.
I haven't been this happy in my life in a long time.
That's good. Alright, can you speak about your growing up?
Growing up, born and raised in New Jersey. I was a Navy brat. My dad was Navy retired, so I was born in an Army hospital, Fort Monmouth Army Hospital in Eatontown, New Jersey. I was pretty much raised as a big tomboy by my dad. Hunting, fishing, crabbing, climbing trees, building tree houses. I did everything with my dad. Because I was such a tomboy, around 7, 8 years old, that got me watching wrestling. So I have to admit, yes, I was the biggest wrestling fan in the world, the biggest Hulkamaniac. Hulk Hogan and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat were like, gods to me back then. So, I grew up, middle class family, 2 sisters and a brother much older. When I was born, they were 19, 17, and 16. So they were pretty much getting out of the house as I was born and, in my early years. So I was pretty much raised like an only child, so I was spoiled rotten. You name it, anything I wanted, I got. Yeah. And like I said, I was daddy's little girl, did everything with him. I went to wrestling shows all the time. Actually, my mom and my sister started taking me to the wrestling shows. And, I did the same thing that every wrestling fan out there does. I used to go to the shows. I used to get autographs and pictures with these guys. And I was in my glory. It was just the most amazing thing in the world. Around 13, 14 years old, puberty hit, and I kind of stopped watching wrestling so much, became a cheerleader, was a little bit more feminine then instead of being a tomboy all the time. And then in my senior year of high school, it was the last month of senior year, June 1990, I met Chris Candido. Crazy how I met him, though. There was a wrestling show at my high school. And my sister was friends with a guy who was going to be the timekeeper, bell ringer, whatsoever. So he called her and said, I'm going to be in town. Why don't you come over and watch the show? And she asked me if I wanted to go. I was like, I'm not into this stuff anymore. It's no big deal. She's like, come on, you haven't seen Elliot in a long time. I'm like, all right, I'll go. So I go to my high school gym. Show's starting, show's going on. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, do I have to be here? And I look in the ring. I went, ooh. He's kind of cute. It was Chris Candido against Johnny Hotbody. And I wasn't looking at Johnny Hotbody, I was looking at Chris. And I just hung around after the show. And I was captain of the cheerleading team. I was Miss Popular, No Fear, Miss Social Butterfly. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, what's a good line so I can meet this guy? So just like any other person in the building, as he's walking out carrying his wrestling gear, I said, hey, can I have your autograph? I was real slick. So he signs his name, writes something else, gives it to me and leaves. Put his phone number. So I was like, okay, this is easier than I thought. We just started talking, and one thing led to another. I found out he wasn't just a wrestler, just starting out his career. He was still a senior in high school. And we started dating, and that was the end of it. That was the beginning of the fairy tale.
You went into my next 2 questions without me.
I'm good at that.
All right, so you did watch wrestling as a kid?
Yes.
Because of your father, you said, right?
Well, my father made me the tomboy that was into all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But actually my neighbor, Joseph, we kind of grew up together since birth. He was watching, so I started watching with him. And
so what grade you was in when you met Chris?
A senior year in high school. It was the last month. It was 1 month before graduation.
All right. A lot of people speak highly of Chris as a performer and as a person. Mm-hmm. What was it about him that made people love him so much?
I don't want to cry. I always cry when I talk about him. Not only one of the most talented people to ever step in the ring, most underrated person to ever step in the ring, but he was very humble, very gracious and very humble. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He did have a temper at times, but it never came out unless it really had to come out. Got along with everyone, would do anything in the ring to help somebody else look, better than they could ever look. I've seen him in the ring with people who are horrible. They suck beyond belief. And he actually makes them look good in there. He just had this talent, that this God-given talent that not a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And if anybody ever knew him, they'll say the same thing.
Yeah, you hear nothing but good things said about him. In every way, as a person, as a performer. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask about him.
Yeah.
Did you stay in the whole funeral? I heard you speak about it, that his parents wasn't getting along with you or something like that.
It was the craziest thing. We were together almost 16 years, okay? That was at the time, because I was 32 when he passed away. He was 33. And so at 32 years old, we were together 16 years. That's half of my life. So for half of my life, all of my adult life, I'm thinking his mom and his dad and his stepmom and stepfather and sisters and brother are like my family. Because we've never had a problem, always got along like we were family. And at the funeral, it's just like everything changed. His mom came up to me and said, "This should be you, not my son." She said that I could. She went off on me, said that I could have prevented it because I didn't bring him to the hospital soon enough. Whereas the doctor in the hospital said, with the blood clot, there's nothing anybody could have done. Doesn't matter how soon he got to the hospital, the blood clot still would have gone to his heart, and nobody could have prevented it.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden,
it said you're not supposed to fly when you get.
Nobody told him that.
I know, but
Yeah.
It's said
4
that
days
everybody should have known
it
that.
was 4 days after surgery. He flew
Yeah.
home from Florida.
But no, what I mean is that, you know, they should have knew by that,
Yeah.
that, you know, it wasn't your fault, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, no, but and here's the thing too. His dad works in a hospital. His mom works in a doctor's office, but they're still blaming me as if I had, you know, I
They
could have
should
prevented
know,
it.
you know, that, like,
So I haven't spoken to any of them since the funeral. It's
so
sad,
did you
but
stay in the whole, everything, the whole funeral to the end? You said,
what's that?
did you stay in the whole funeral?
Yeah, I was there. I mean, I left a couple of times with a couple of friends just because, you know, it was hard. But it was insane how many people he drew to his funeral. The
I can
line,
imagine.
there had to have been 1,000 people.
I can imagine.
Fans, wrestlers, almost like the entire TNA roster came up. Dixie Carter came. The line was out the door and like wrapped around the building like twice. It was just incredible. And then like throughout the whole time, like the viewings were supposed to be 2 hours. They had to go 4 hours each. You know, so there were 2 4-hour viewings
Yeah.
on the one day, and it was just insane. Could not believe how many people came out. That's how loved he was.
Yeah, that's good. I read you work as a freelance photographer. What did you do photography for?
Yeah, that was my first job before I started actually working in the business. When I met Chris, you know, well, here's the whole thing with Chris. When I met him, you know, we're talking, and I'm like, "What are you going to do with your life?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going to be a wrestler. That's it." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to college. I had full academic scholarship to University of Miami. I was going to be pre-med. I wanted to be a plastic surgeon, and I was right down that line. You know, I had nothing was in the peripheral vision. It was pre-med and plastic surgery, and about 10 days before I was supposed to leave, not even, maybe a week before I was supposed to leave from Miami, I knew my roommate. We talked about who was bringing what to our dorm room. My U-Haul was rented, sitting in the driveway of my parents' house, all ready to pack up and go. And about a week before I was supposed to leave and drive down to Miami, I broke down to my dad and said, "Daddy, I can't go."
Why?
And I said, I was in love. I didn't want to leave him. And my dad was like,
you don't gotta say nothing.
my dad was like, "You're gonna give up a full academic scholarship because you met a boy a month ago?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "Daddy, but I can't leave you either." He goes, "Well, that's a different story." He was actually relieved that his little girl was staying home. So, you know, it all worked out for the best. But yeah, well, when I first started dating Chris, you know, I wasn't working in the business yet for about 6-8 months, I guess. But I was going to his shows. At every show, and I was just taking pictures and videotaping his matches for his own, you know, just for his own use. Bill Apter saw some of my pictures somewhere and loved my photography, because I'm actually I have a vision when it comes to when the camera's in my hand. I just know what to do. So he saw some of my shots, some action shots, some pose shots, you know, of Chris, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to do freelance?" I'm like, "Sure." So I would go to as many shows as I could, just, you know, shoot ringside and turn in my shots. He would pay me for what he wanted.
Oh, really?
And,
So
yeah,
that's what you was doing photography?
Yeah,
Wrestling.
while I was in college,
Wow.
yeah. So my most famous shot of all time, actually, I was so proud of this. I actually got a centerfold in PWI. It was of Ricky Morton, tarred and feathered. The shot was just perfect.
What you mean tarred and feathered? He had feathers all over him?
Yeah, tar and feather. It was a tar and feather match. Like the loser gets tarred and feathered.
I never heard of that.
So there's
match.
Ricky Morton there with all these feathers stuck to him. You know, I think they use like corn syrup. You know, they're not going to use tar. They use corn syrup poured on him. Then they put the feathers on him, and you know.
I never
because he's
even
supposed to be
heard of that
chicken.
match. I've been watching.
Oh, it's a
wrestling
southern
forever.
thing. It's a southern thing.
Yeah.
Google it, YouTube it.
Yeah,
But
I am definitely.
yeah, that was my most proud moment is when I was doing photography, is when I had my first centerfold of Ricky Morton. It was cool.
All right. Once you got in, how long did it take you to make it to the WWE?
Well,
Now, who gave you the call?
here's how I got started. It was very strange. Chris was getting hired down at Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So I transferred my college down to University of Tennessee, Knoxville. We moved down there, got an apartment. He's starting with Smoky Mountain. About a month after he started, Jim Cornette, his boss at the time, called us up and said, everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Called us up and said he wanted to take us out to dinner. So we went to this place called Calhoun's on the River. Amazing barbecue down in Knoxville. And, here we are. We're all excited. We're thinking he's going to talk to Chris about his career and stuff like that. So we sit down. We start dinner. Jim Cornette goes, okay, I need a girl. I was like, oh my God, what? What does this, psycho want? He's like, no, just hear me out. Because I know you're in school. I need a girl that can play a northern bitchy college student, be a heel, and just cut promos, wear business suits. I'm supposed to idolize Hillary Clinton. Go to like this prestigious college in Massachusetts, just have that whole snob gimmick going. I said, well, I'm from the North, I can be a bitch, and I go to college, it should be easy, He's like, take off of school for 6 months, it's only gonna be 6 months, and then you can go back to school. I said, first of all, I'm not taking off of school for 6 months. I said, I'll go to school, just schedule my classes in the beginning of the week, I'll, do the shows on the weekend. I said, but just 6 months, I'll make a couple of bucks instead of mooching off my dad, because basically my dad was paying for my apartment, my food, you name it, everything, my school, everything. Because I wasn't working, I was just focused on school. So I said, I'll make a couple bucks on the weekend. I went back to registration, scheduled all my classes. Now, a pre-med, schedule is not easy, but I scheduled every one of my classes for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So you can imagine what my Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays are like. And then on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was on the road doing homework in locker rooms, studying in the locker room, studying in the car. So, I started doing it, and the 6-month mark came and went, and I was doing, such a good job, and Cornette was so happy with me that it went on for 2.5 years. At one point in my paycheck one week, there was a note from Cornette saying, if you continue to get more heat than me, I'm firing you, because I was like the #1 heel in the company, even higher than Cornette, and they hated it. So 2.5 years down the road, I'm in the apartment, and the phone rings, the house phone, because back then there wasn't even cell phones. We had beepers back then. Oh God, I just aged myself. So, phone rings. Hello. It was the WWF. It was Bruce Pritchard. So I'm going, Chris, WWF is calling for you. And Bruce goes, no, I'm actually calling to talk to you. I was like,
so it was Bruce Pritchard.
Talk to me? What are you going to talk to me about? He's like, we want to bring you up for an audition. I said, an audition for what? I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, don't worry about it. Can you come up on Monday? Monday happened to be my birthday. It's December 7th, 1994. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So they flew me up on my birthday morning. I went into the studio. They stood me in front of a teleprompter and a camera, and they said, okay, read from the teleprompter. I said, what's a teleprompter? I had no idea. I said, I don't know if you know what I do, but I'm a manager at ringside, I'm a heel, I don't know what this teleprompter stuff is. Like, no, just read it, you'll be fine. So here I am reading stuff like a broadcaster, and I'm totally screwing up, I'm stuttering over myself, I'm missing words, I'm like, I was just like frazzled, I had no idea what was going on. Worst audition anybody probably ever did or could see, it was just horrendous. And so I went back, they brought me back to the hotel, it was the Marriott in Stamford. And I got on the phone with Chris, and I just broke down and cried. I was like, it was horrible. It's the worst birthday ever. I mean, seriously, it was the worst birthday I ever had. And I was like, it's never going to happen. I'm just going to put it out of my mind completely and just, just continue on with school, focus on that, stay with Smoky Mountain for a little bit. And 2 weeks later, the phone rings again. It's Bruce Pritchard. I'm like, what's up, Bruce? He goes, can you start on Monday? I said, start what? He goes, start working. I said, but I was horrible. He's like, you're not as horrible as you thought you were. So that's when they brought me up. That's actually when I had to stop going to school. I had to take off time from school. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I was in the studio filming the live event news as Tamara Murphy. And then Thursday through Sunday, I was back on the road with Smoky Mountain. So every single week, I'm flying back and forth to Stamford. So that's how I started in the WWF. 6 months later, I was brought in for a meeting with Vince McMahon, and that's when Sonny was born. They put me on the road. I was pretty much raised as a big tomboy by my dad. Hunting, fishing, crabbing, climbing trees, building tree houses. I did everything with my dad. Because I was such a tomboy around 7, 8 years old, that got me watching wrestling. So I have to admit, yes.
That's good.
I haven't been this happy in my life in a long time.
That's good. All right, can you speak about your growing up?
Growing up, born and raised in New Jersey. I was a Navy brat. My dad was Navy retired, so I was born in an Army hospital, Fort Monmouth Army Hospital in Eatontown, New Jersey. 16. So they were pretty much getting out of the house as I was born, and in my early years. So I was pretty much raised like an only child. So I was spoiled rotten. You name it, anything I wanted, I got.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was daddy's little girl. Did everything with him. I went to.
All right, we back here with another episode of No-kayfaben.com with Hall of Fame legend, diva, first diva of wrestling, Sunny. It's an honor for you to be on my site. I appreciate it.
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I was the biggest wrestling fan in the world, the biggest Hulkamaniac. Hulk Hogan and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat were like, gods to me back then. So, I grew up, middle class family. 2 sisters and a brother, much older. When I was born, they were 19, 17, and